Good afternoon. I'm Jim Ray with the Masters of the American West, the Road to the Autry Masters. I'm here with premier landscape painter Matt Smith. Matt's up in Scottsdale, Arizona. He paints all over the desert Southwest and many other places, and it's just wonderful to see your work, Matt. So welcome to the Road to the Autry Masters.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
So, Matt, tell us a little bit about your artistic background. What was your training and education that brought you up, and now you're in several very high profile exhibitions around the country. What was it like to get up to that level of presenting your work? Hello, Matt.
Was an artist that she had the skills to follow through. So she changed over into art history. So there was always Matt, an interest there. There was always...
hold it, time out. Apparently you froze there in the middle. So I'm going to repose the question and let you try to start over again. And hopefully we'll get a little bit cleaner shot at it at this time.
Okay.
So Matt, tell us a little bit about your artistic upbringing, your career background. You've come from the beginnings as an artist, and now you're in numerous very high-profile exhibitions around the country. Tell us what brought you there. What was it like coming up as a new artist? What was your training like as an artist? And what's it like to operate in this kind of rarefied era of fine art exhibitions?
Well, it all started at home with a mother who was an art major and eventually transitioned to an art history major. She was kind of a hobbyist painter early on, so that was inspiring for me. They collected art on a small scale too, so I've got the opportunity to meet artists, and the exposure to art was there. When I was about 12, we moved to France for 2 years. My father was with Motorola, and he had an assignment over there. So over there, we got to see all these phenomenal museums, which again, fostered my interest. And when we came back to the States, I continued to draw and paint. Always interested in that. Started my first gallery here in Scottsdale when I was in high school, and then entered Arizona State University as actually a business marketing major, but transferred into the College of Fine Art the next year and majored in painting. I was rather disappointed with that because it was very sort of abstract and conceptual oriented sort of work, emote more than training. I fortunately had access to Main Street here in Scottsdale, and I'd go down and I'd walk through the gallery. I saw so much great art, historic art, and living masters. And I always wondered what happened between Main Street and Arizona State that caused things to go awry. But I finished up at Arizona State, graduated again with a degree in painting, and I started taking workshops over at the Scottsdale Art School with some of the artists I really admired. James Reynolds was the first one, and then Clyde Aspavig and Skip Whitcomb, Mike Lynch, landscape painters that I admired and who I admired, and that really took off. And eventually I started doing a few workshops over there, and was on the board for a short period of time. And so that was a real positive thing too. And I just continued to paint outdoors and work as hard as I could to improve. And that eventually led to doors opening to great galleries like Trailside, Gerald Peters, Simpson Gallagher. Gosh, there are so many. And then the shows. The first big one for me, really big one, was the Masters, and I believe that was '98. And then the next year was Prix de West, and it just kind of started going from there.
Yeah, you are not the first one that has commented on on the art education program in universities, which doesn't have very much to do with representational art from what I can understand. But I would also comment that the Scottsdale Art School is a phenomenal facility, and I don't really know of anything quite like it anywhere else, but there's been a lot of great artists that have traveled through that place, either as students or as instructors. And we really all are very thankful for the work they're doing over there.
I certainly am. It's done so much for the art world at large. There are quite a few venues that teach workshops, but and I have pretty much have my ear to the ground. They're the biggest and most successful that I know of in the workshop oriented format.
Yeah,
but they have both local ongoing classes and week-long workshops, and they get a lot of very high-end professional painters through there, which is great for anybody who wants to learn.
oh, great. So let's talk about what you're working on for the Masters. I think the first thing we're going to talk about is your main catalog piece, Autumn on the Sycamore. Where is that?
Sycamore Creek is just north of where I am, about 45 minutes. And of course, in the Sonoran Desert, autumn color is a rare thing. The saguaro needles don't change when the temps cool down. So in my efforts to look for fall color here locally, I go north and search out those riparian areas where the sycamores and the cottonwoods line the creek, and they don't start changing. Well, they're just starting right about now. They don't start till December into January. Mm-hmm. And last year was a terrific year. We had a couple of really good rainstorms. So I went out there, and the creek was running, and the fall color was going, and I did a few little paintings, and then ended up working that up in the studio from those trips out there early year.
Yeah, so you had all the elements of a successful painting there.
Yes, they were everywhere. And, I get a lot of artist friends who come through town bailing on the cold winter snow of the North Country, come through here to warm up in January, February. And so I had a couple friends with me on a few of those ventures.
So anything else that you're working on for us that you can talk about?
Yep. My miniature piece is an on the spotter from a trip I just got back from up the coast of Oregon. It was a little piece in Yachats. Just some moving surf and some rocks. It was just it's fascinating for a desert dweller like me to see that much water and the constant motion of that water as that surf comes in and out, trying to figure out the rhythms. And so that was one of the better little paintings from that trip. It's a little 10 by 12 titled Constant Motion. Mm-hmm. I have a 16 by 16 of from Glacier National Park of the Swift Current. The outlet is Swift Current Lake. It's a waterfall as it comes out, and during the spring, that thing really gets to cooking. So it's just a pile of boulders and beauty, and the mountain in the background. And I was there painting in the fall a couple of years ago, and so that painting is from that trip. Again, titled The Swift Current Outlet, and then a 1418 of Pacific Grove over in the Monterey area, of the pink flowers in the surf from a trip I did about a year ago out there.
I've seen a lot of your work over the years, and there's been desert landscapes, there's been mountains, there's not seen a lot of kind of marine surf types of things. So that'll be very interesting to see that from you. When you encounter a scene, how do you know you've got a keeper? When you walk into a situation, how do you know this is something I want to capture in my art?
Well, I think all of them are until I paint them, and then I realize whether they worked out or not. I love to travel. I love to load up my truck and roam through the desert, up the coast, in the Rockies, anywhere I can. And I just enjoy and respect the landscape, and I try to filter what I'm seeing through the prism of the foundational principles of art, drawing, value, design, and color. And if I see something there that I think works, then I have at it. Mm-hmm. And I do quite a bit of painting on location. So I do, well over 100 of those little paintings a year. And they really help to determine whether an idea has merit to take up to a larger scale or not. And sometimes I don't even do a literal transition upwards. I might just take a painting and say, okay, I'm going to take this as reference and tweak it this way or that way and make it into something completely new and different. And of course, back it up with photographic information. But those little on-the-spot paintings are instrumental, not only for helping me in the studio, but for just keeping me tuned up and helping me to understand how natural light works, how atmospheric conditions work and influence my subject.
How much time over the course of the year do you spend out in the field actually working on these little paintings?
I'd say about a third of my time. I'm starting to go back outdoors more. I'm starting to pull back from some things a little bit because I enjoy being outside so much. It's the best. I really love getting outside and setting my rig up and roaming around. I just got back from a trip with a bunch of really terrific artists into a very remote area of Utah where we took our four-wheel drives deep into these canyons and set up and painted back there. It was just spectacular. Nobody around. It was fabulous.
I've heard about some of these trips. I actually wrote an article about one of them that Vic Riesel put together several years ago for Art of the West back into Canyon de Chelly.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, there were several artists. Were you part of that trip?
No, I was asked, but I had a conflict, so I couldn't make it.
Well, those are great things to get all these excellent artists together and go pack into an area and spend several days and just be doing their art during the day and sitting around shooting the breeze at night around the campfire. So I'd love to get involved in one of those things sometime in the future. So looking at your career, the way you do things,
love to have you. You really enjoy it.
We'll work on that. Looking at your career, the evolution of it all, the time that you spend preparing for all these exhibitions, and it is a lot of time. Do you see things pretty much staying the same going forward, or do you see some evolution? How's your outlook for the future?
It's always positive because I'm doing what I want to do. When I started painting, I really didn't know if that's something you can make a living at or not. Even though I was selling paintings early on, I was just having so much fun. It's so enjoyable, the process of painting, particularly outdoors, that it's something I'll always do. I'll teach workshops occasionally. I get lawyers, doctors, all sorts of high-end professional folks, and I think about if my life would have gone that way, and all I can think is on my summer vacation, I would have gone up into the Tetons or Yellowstone or somewhere and spent my vacation painting. So you can do without a lot in life if you're doing what you want to do. But I'm positive about the market. I like what's happening with my work. My goal is to improve at all costs. So I continue to look at great art, share time with artists whose work I admire, and paint a lot. And that's my goal, just to continue onward.
Well, great, Matt. Thank you so much for taking some time to sit down and chat with us today. We hope that a lot of new people get exposed to your work via seeing this little video, and I hope that we see you in Los Angeles in February for the Masters of the American West.
Well, I plan on being there, and I sure appreciate you having me today.
Okay, thanks, Matt.
My pleasure.